All right. Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Where we really kind of, take all the coolest stuff out there, the
Yeah.
best source material, and we try to, pull out the good stuff for you, the things you need to know,
Yeah.
all tailored for you.
Right.
So today's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Sun Tzu's The Art of War,
Big one.
a text that has influenced, thinkers,
Yeah. For centuries.
for centuries.
At least.
And you might be wondering,
They probably are.
how does ancient military strategy
Right. What's that?
apply to my daily life or my business?
How does that help me?
Right.
Right.
So
Right.
get ready for some surprising connections because we're going to explore
Yeah.
7 core strategies from this
Yeah.
classic that remain powerfully relevant today.
It's fascinating to me how these core principles just, they transcend the battlefield. You know what I mean? It's about really understanding competition in its broadest sense, formulating effective strategies
Right.
and achieving your objectives,
Right.
With clarity and precision,
Like no matter what you're doing.
no matter what your arena is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right.
in this deep dive, we are going to unpack
I'll pack it
all these enduring ideas
Yeah.
so you can immediately see how it applies
Today.
to your life.
Right.
Ren.
And we'll be focusing on 7 key areas.
Okay.
The first one's strategic planning,
Of course.
laying the groundwork for victory,
Got to have that.
right? Number 2,
Yeah.
efficiency and execution,
Love it.
waging war wisely,
Mm-hmm.
the art of indirect attack,
Oh, that's my favorite.
winning without fighting,
Yeah.
building unassailable positions,
I have it.
tactical superiority, harnessing momentum,
That's big.
the power of energy,
Exploit.
exploiting weaknesses,
Yeah.
striking where it matters,
That's how you win.
and adaptive maneuvering,
Ah,
navigating the battlefield of life.
that's right.
Yeah.
So
Get ready.
get ready to think about strategy
Yeah,
in a whole new light.
totally.
Let's start with the very first step,
Okay.
laying the groundwork
Oh,
of
oh, oh.
strategic planning.
Chapter 1, laying plans,
Okay.
really emphasizes that you have to prepare.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be thorough in your preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Sun Tzu famously said,
Yeah.
"The art of war is of vital importance to the state.
Oh, yeah.
It is a matter of life and death,
Whoa.
a road either to safety or to ruin.
Big stakes.
Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected."
Oh, wow. Yeah. So
So for you,
for you.
in your business, in your
Right.
personal ambitions,
Mm-hmm.
this means you got to think about it before you act.
Okay. So
Right.
it's more than just having a vague idea.
Yeah, it's not just like, oh, I want to be rich.
Right.
You've got to really think about it.
What are the benefits?
What are the tangible benefits?
Yeah, like of really digging in and making a plan.
Well, at its heart, it's clear objectives. It's not just what you want to achieve.
Right.
It's, how do you know you're going to be successful?
Uh-huh.
Like you've got to define that
Mm.
measurable definition of success.
Right.
And that acts as your guide,
Okay.
your North Star in a constantly shifting landscape.
I like that.
Yeah.
So it's like your map
It's your map.
to get to where you're going.
Exactly.
Okay.
The second thing is it's rigorous risk mitigation.
Okay.
You've got to analyze the landscape. Like, what resources do you have?
Right.
What's the external environment like?
Uh-huh.
What are your competitors doing?
Right.
You've got to identify the obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can proactively,
Get around them.
get around them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or avoid them completely, right?
Okay. And finally,
And finally, it's about informed decision making.
Yep.
Sun Tzu talks about the 5 constant factors.
right?
And I was thinking about this,
Yeah.
what does this mean in a business context? And I
Yeah.
think it's like your organization's core values
Okay.
and how they drive your culture
Mm-hmm.
and how people see you.
Right.
That's kind of like, moral law.
Okay.
Then you've got prevailing market trends, broader economic forces.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like heaven,
Okay.
the competitive landscape, your operating environment.
Yeah.
That's like earth.
I see.
The quality and vision of your leadership. That's
Yeah.
like the commander,
Mm.
and then you got your internal processes
Uh-huh.
and operational effectiveness.
Right.
That's method and discipline.
Okay. It's like translating
Yeah, you're translating
Where-
this old into the modern.
into modern business.
That's really interesting. So
And when you understand these elements,
you can make sharper strategic choices.
okay, so that's the why of planning.
Right.
But what are the real world costs?
Yeah. What happens?
If you skip this planning stage,
If you just jump in,
what kind of traps might you fall into?
oh, so many.
Yeah.
You're going to waste resources.
Okay.
You know, your efforts are scattered.
Mhm.
You're putting time, money, energy
Right.
into things that aren't getting you to your goal.
Yeah.
You also increase your risk of failure.
Okay.
If you don't understand the market,
Uh-huh.
you don't know what threats are out there, you're going to be exposed.
Right.
And then internally,
Yeah.
you can have this lack of cohesion.
Okay.
People are working on different things.
Yeah.
You've got conflicting agendas.
Right.
And it just undermines everything.
It's chaos.
It is.
Can you give some examples of U.S. companies
Oh, yeah.
that really demonstrate
Oh, for sure.
this effective strategic planning?
So look at Apple.
Okay.
Their product roadmap is years in the future.
Really? Wow.
They understand tech trends.
Mm-hmm.
They know what consumers want
Uh-huh.
before they even know they want it.
Wow. That's impressive.
Right. And Amazon,
Yeah.
they're investing in cloud computing,
Yeah.
AWS,
Right.
artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a knee-jerk reaction.
Right.
That's a long-term vision.
Yeah.
They know where the market's going.
Uh-huh.
And Procter & Gamble,
Yeah.
huge portfolio of brands.
Yeah.
They're constantly analyzing the market.
Mm-hmm.
They divest.
Right.
They invest
Right.
based on what they see.
Yeah. And on the flip side,
Yeah. What about the ones
who are some examples that have paid the price?
who messed up
Yeah.
for a lack of strategic planning?
Yeah.
Oh, there's some big ones.
Okay.
BlackBerry,
Oh, yeah.
they were huge in mobile,
Uh-huh.
but they didn't see the touch screens coming.
Yeah.
They didn't adapt to the app ecosystem.
Right.
Kodak.
Oh, yeah.
They invented the digital camera,
I know. It's crazy.
but they clung to film.
Too long.
Yeah.
And then you've got all these generic retailers.
Yeah.
They haven't carved out a niche.
Yeah.
They don't know who their customer is.
They're just kind of there.
They're just there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for you, our listener,
Yes.
thinking about your own work,
Have you been there?
have you encountered this lack of foresight?
Yeah.
What do you do? How do you apply this practically?
Well, it starts with analysis.
Okay.
You've got to understand your market.
Right.
Who are your customers?
Mm-hmm.
What do they need?
Yeah.
Analyze your competitors.
Right.
What are their strengths?
Right.
What are their weaknesses?
Mm-hmm.
Then look at yourself.
Right.
What can you do?
Yeah.
What are your limitations?
What are you good at?
Yeah, what are you good at?
Okay.
That's your SWOT analysis.
SWOT analysis.
Strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
I've heard of that.
You've got to do it.
Okay.
Then you define your objectives.
Okay.
What does success look like?
Mm-hmm.
And then you make a roadmap,
A roadmap.
a plan
Right.
to get you from where you are to where you want to be.
So, like, imagine
Yeah.
a software company.
They're not just going to coast.
Right.
They're going to analyze the market.
Right.
What problem are they solving?
Yeah.
What's their solution?
Mm-hmm.
And then they map out their strategy.
Their whole plan.
The whole thing.
Wow.
That's strategic planning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've laid the foundation.
We've laid it.
Now let's move on to
It's a meticulous.
efficiency and execution.
This flows right from the planning.
Okay.
Chapter 2, Waging War.
Yeah.
It's all about the cost of a long conflict.
Okay.
Sun Tzu said,
Yeah.
when you engage in actual fighting, if victory is long in coming,
Mm-hmm.
then men's weapons will grow dull and their ardor will be dampened.
Wow, they lose their spirit.
They do.
Yeah.
If you lay siege to a town, you will exhaust your strength.
Right. You just run out of steam.
You run out of everything. Yep.
Again, if the campaign is protracted, the resources of the state will not be equal to the strain.
Okay, so
Eh.
in business,
Yeah.
inefficient execution,
Oh, it's just as bad.
it drains you.
It drains you dry.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just getting things done.
Right.
It's about doing it right.
What are the specific upsides
Okay. So,
of efficient execution?
resource conservation.
Okay.
You're saving money, time, energy.
Mm-hmm.
You maintain morale
Okay.
when your team sees progress.
Yeah.
They're motivated.
Right.
And you get a competitive advantage.
How so?
Speed, getting your products to market faster,
Right.
adapting to your customers
Okay.
quickly.
So what if you're slow?
Oh, if you're slow,
Yeah. What are the downsides?
you deplete your resources,
So,
your budget's gone,
right.
your team is burnt out,
Mm-hmm.
you miss opportunities,
Yeah.
your competitors are taking your market share,
Yeah.
and you're vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
Anyone can attack you. So,
Who's doing it right?
who's doing it right?
In the U.S., give me some companies.
Dell,
Dell. Okay.
they were direct to consumer, build to order,
Mm-hmm.
no warehousing costs.
Wow.
Toyota,
Okay.
lean manufacturing. No waste,
Mm.
maximum efficiency.
They're famous for that.
They are.
Yeah.
And Netflix, agile development, new features all the time, fresh content. They're on it.
Okay, so who's struggling?
Oh, who's struggling?
Yeah.
Traditional automakers.
Okay.
They were slow to EVs.
Yeah.
Tesla's eating their lunch.
Right.
Brick and mortar retailers. They didn't want to do e-commerce.
Yeah.
And the online giants took over.
Yeah.
And then, any big bureaucracy, slow decision-making.
Kills them.
Kills them.
Yeah. So for you, what are some practical steps?
So you want to be more efficient.
How do we do this?
You got to streamline your processes.
Okay.
Where are the bottlenecks? Simplify everything.
Right.
Empower your teams.
Okay.
Let them make decisions.
Give them that power.
Yeah, within reason, of course.
Right.
Look at agile methodologies.
Yeah.
They're all about iteration, rapid feedback.
Right.
You got to optimize your resources.
Time, money, people.
The whole thing.
Right.
Eliminate waste.
No waste.
Like imagine you're launching a marketing campaign.
Okay.
You need clear workflows.
Right.
Everyone knows their role. You get feedback quickly.
Right.
So you can address any problems.
Okay. So efficient execution.
Crucial.
Really important.
Yeah. Now, for the fun stuff.
Okay. What's that?
The art of indirect attack.
Oh, winning without fighting.
That's the one.
Chapter 3.
Attack by stratagem.
Okay.
Sun Tzu says, in the practical art of war, the best thing of all is to take the enemy's country whole and intact. To shatter and destroy it is not so good.
Interesting.
Right. Like, why destroy it?
Right.
Supreme excellence consists of breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting.
That's pretty amazing.
That's the goal.
So in business,
what
does that mean?
It's innovation.
Okay.
It's market positioning. It's outmaneuvering your competition.
Instead of fighting them head on.
Yeah, those battles are expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are the advantages of this?
Okay.
Well,
go around.
Why go around?
Yeah.
You reduce your risk.
Okay.
You're not getting into those big fights.
Right.
It's more resource efficient.
Yeah.
You get more bang for your buck.
Okay.
And it creates a sustainable advantage.
Sustainable advantage.
Yeah, you're creating something unique.
Right.
Or you're opening up a new market.
Right, where there's no competition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 So what if you don't?
What if you don't do this?
What if you don't consider these indirect strategies?
Yeah, what if you just go head to head?
What happens?
You get into these costly battles.
Okay.
Price wars.
Right.
Marketing spending sprees.
Yeah.
And no one wins.
Everyone loses.
Everyone loses.
Right.
Your growth is limited because you're fighting over scraps.
In the existing market.
Yeah, the same old market.
Right.
And someone can disrupt you.
Someone can come in.
Someone can come in.
With a whole new idea.
A whole new approach.
And you're done.
You're done.
Wow. So who's doing this well?
Who does that well?
Yeah, in the U.S.?
Netflix, they didn't try to be another TV network.
Right.
They created streaming. And it changed everything.
Yeah.
Uber.
Okay.
They didn't buy a bunch of taxis.
Right.
They made a platform connecting writers and drivers and Salesforce. They put CRM in the cloud.
Yeah.
They didn't need to install software. They changed the game.
So who missed the boat?
Who missed the boat?
Yeah.
Blockbuster. They didn't see Netflix coming.
Yeah.
The taxi companies.
Right.
They didn't innovate. Uber passed them by.
Right.
And all those on-premise software vendors, they were too slow to the cloud.
So for our listener,
for you,
how can you think about this indirect attack?
Well, look for those underserved customers.
Okay.
The needs that aren't being met. The new technologies.
Right.
Find a different way to do things.
Don't compete head on.
Yeah, don't do that.
Okay.
Like, imagine a coffee shop.
Okay.
They're not going to compete on price.
Right.
They're going to focus on ethical sourcing.
Right.
They're going to build a community.
Okay.
That's their niche.
That's their indirect attack.
That's it.
Okay, so we've talked about indirect attack.
We have.
Now let's move on to building unassailable positions.
Chapter 4, tactical dispositions. That's what it's all about. Sun Tzu said, the good fighters of old first put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat and then waited for an opportunity of defeating the enemy.
They're safe? They're safe?
Yeah.
They're ready?
They're waiting for their moment.
Exactly.
Okay, so in business, what's that mean?
It's about building a strong foundation,
Okay.
having unique strengths, and being defensible.
Defensible.
Yeah, you don't want to be easy to attack.
Right. So what are the benefits of this unassailable position?
Okay, so you reduce your vulnerability.
Yeah.
You're not as susceptible to attacks.
Right.
You increase your negotiation power.
Okay. So you can make better deals.
Better deals, yeah.
Yeah.
And you have sustainable growth
Sustainable growth.
because you've got a solid base.
Right. You're built on rock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
what if you don't do this?
what if you don't?
What are the dangers? You're always reacting.
Okay.
They're always putting out fires.
Right.
You're not growing.
Right.
You're limited.
Yeah.
And someone might just buy you out.
Right. You're vulnerable.
You're vulnerable.
Because you haven't built that strength.
Yeah, you're not strong enough.
Okay. So who's doing it right?
Who's got the unassailable position?
Yeah. Give me some companies.
Google. Google, they dominate search. They're
Right.
constantly innovating. They've got the infrastructure.
Right.
Microsoft.
Right.
They've got that ecosystem.
Right.
Software, services, hardware. It's all connected.
People are locked in.
Locked in. And
Yeah.
Johnson & Johnson, healthcare.
Yeah.
Pharmaceuticals, medical devices, consumer products.
Wow. They're diversified.
So diversified.
So they're resilient.
They're resilient.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who's struggling?
Who didn't build the fortress?
Yeah.
Small social media platforms.
Okay.
They can't compete with Facebook. Generic manufacturers, they just compete on price.
Right.
And businesses with weak IP,
Intellectual property.
yeah,
Right.
they're easy to copy.
Yeah. So for our listener,
Yeah, for you,
how do you build
bad
this-
you build that fortress.
Yeah. How do you build this unassailable position?
You got to find your core competencies.
Okay.
What do you do better than anyone else?
Right.
Build a strong brand.
A strong brain.
People recognize you,
Right.
protect your IP,
Patents, trademarks. Yeah.
the whole thing,
Right.
and build those customer relationships.
Customer relationships are huge.
They're everything.
Yeah.
It's internal strength and external positioning.
Like a craft brewery.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
They use local ingredients.
Uh-huh.
They build a community.
Right.
That's their fortress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've talked about building that strength.
We have.
Now let's move on to
Okay.
harnessing momentum.
Chapter 5. It's all about timing and speed.
Timing and speed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sun Tzu said
Yeah.
that the impact of your army may be like a grindstone dashed against an egg.
Okay.
This is affected by the science of weak points and strong.
So you're hitting them
You're hitting them.
where they're weak.
Exactly. At
Yeah.
the right time.
Okay.
With the right force.
Wait. So in business,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
It's about understanding the market.
The rhythm of the market.
The rhythm, yeah.
Right.
Knowing when to act
Mm-hmm.
and focusing your resources.
Okay. So what are the advantages of this?
You get the first mover advantage.
First mover advantage.
You're there first.
Right.
You get more market share.
Okay.
And you can disrupt the competition.
Disrupt.
Yeah, you change the game
Okay. And what if you're slow?
if you're slow.
Yeah. What are the downsides?
You miss opportunities.
Okay.
Someone else gets there first.
Mm-hmm.
You get overtaken.
Yeah.
Someone passes you by.
Right.
And your resources are wasted.
Wasted. You're spread too thin.
Right, you're not focused.
Yeah. You're not focused.
Okay, so who's got the momentum?
Who's got it?
Yeah, give me some examples.
Tesla. They're always innovating.
Yeah,
They're ahead of the curve.
right.
Zoom.
Okay.
They were ready for the pandemic.
Right.
They scaled up fast.
Yeah.
And Zara,
Okay.
fast fashion,
Mm-hmm.
they know what's hot
Right.
and they get it to you quick.
So who missed the momentum?
Who missed it?
Yeah.
Companies that were slow to adapt
Okay.
to technology, to the market,
Right.
bureaucracies, slow decision making
Kills them.
every time.
Yeah.
And companies that couldn't scale,
Right, they couldn't keep up.
they couldn't keep up.
Yeah. So, for you, our listener,
How do you get the momentum?
yeah, how do you harness this power?
Be agile,
Okay.
be responsive,
Mm-hmm.
make decisions quickly,
Okay.
focus your resources, host, speaker. All right. Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Where we we really kind of, take all the coolest stuff out there, the
Yeah.
best source material, and we try to, pull out the good stuff for you, the things you need to know,
Yeah.
all tailored for you.
Right.
So today's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
The Sun Tzu's The Art of War,
Big one.
a text that has influenced, thinkers,
Yeah.
for
centuries.
centuries.
Yeah, at least.
And you might be wondering,
They probably are.
how does ancient military strategy
Right. What's that?
apply to my daily life or my business?
How does that help me?
Right.
Right.
So
Right.
get ready for some surprising connections because we're going to explore
Yeah.
7 core strategies from this classic that remain powerfully relevant today.
It's fascinating to me how these core principles just, you know, they transcend the battlefield. You know what I mean? It's about like really understanding competition in its broadest sense, formulating effective strategies and achieving your objectives, with clarity and precision,
Like no matter what you're doing.
no matter what your arena is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right.
in this deep dive, we're going to unpack
I'll pack it all.
all these enduring ideas
Yeah.
so you can immediately